historic occasion as we celebrate the centenary of the 1916 Easter Rising in our capital city and rededicate ourselves to the vision of the proclamation. It is my honour and privilege to introduce our final speaker at this Ardash, a giant of modern republicanism who led the Sinn Féin success at the polls in the 26 counties and will lead our struggle into next month's Assembly elections. My good friend and comrade, Sinn Féin President Gerry Adams TD.
Well, Marcos. Féin Ard Fheis. Gerry. Cahi Shiva Bay the he. Well, Féin Ard Fheis, agus the falcha rov a leg, heg Ardash Sinn Féin sa blian Starwell Shaw. A special Cad Mila Falcha to friends of Sinn Féin in the USA, hello Terry, in Canada, to our comrades from Australia, South Africa, Cuba, Greece, Britain, from GUI, NGL, and to all our foreign dignitaries and diplomats. I want to also especially thank President Abbas for his welcome words of solidarity and to extend the solidarity of this Ardash to the people of Palestine and especially of the Gaza Strip. I want to extend a very warm welcome to my good friend Arnaldo Otegi. Arnaldo has been a leading voice for peace in the Basque Country and has just been released after 6 years of wrongful imprisonment. A welcome also to everyone in Ireland or across the world watching this Ardash on television or online. Agus ma buhes go haraha or nadini or cor kelleru ked blain the hill yavishi go huntak or fad. "100 years ago tonight, small groups of men and women were making their final preparations for the rising. On Easter Monday, April the 24th, they struck for freedom. They took on the largest empire in human history. Years of training, organising, and the procurement of weapons had gone into their preparations. Their objective was to win. Their objective was freedom. Freedom, Saoirse and Windsor Nahuran. It was about justice. It was about the right of the people of this nation to sovereignty and independence, to co onanas agus cearta. It's about our right as a people to shape our own society. Now, there has been an attempt by some to denigrate the heroes of 1916, but the genuine pride in the centenary events is a clear rejection of this shameful revisionism. There's also been a disgraceful effort to suggest that Republican history stopped and ended in the GPO. We are told that John Redmond opposed violence, that he was right on home rule, that Connolly and Pearson, their comrades, were wrong, that the British government, the benign British government, would have granted independence anyway. Stuff and nonsense. Being Ceart Egan Pearshock. Agus Féin Ceart Eg and Conneloch. Connolly described Redmondism as a carefully staged pantomime to fool nationalist Ireland. He predicted that Redmond's party would send forth more thousands of Irish men and boys to manure with their corpses the soil of a foreign country. And Redmond and the Unionist leader Edward Carson did exactly that. Tens of thousands of Irish boys and men died. Those claiming that honouring the 1916 leaders might justify violence have nothing to say of Redmond and Carson's role in sending a generation of young men in the Irish Volunteers and the Ulster Volunteers to fight Germans and Austrians and Turks with whom they had no quarrel whatsoever. $17 million died in that imperial adventure. 7 million civilians. Were John Redmond, was Edward Carson not men of violence? And what of those who say that this republic is the republic proclaimed in 1916? They claim that the vision of the republic is fulfilled. But no republic worthy of its name would tolerate partition, mass emigration, poverty, and homelessness. The proclamation is one of the finest freedom charters ever written, but it was not meant to be read every 100 years. It's meant to be lived. Ní focail amháin atá an ach spreagú le neart agus station anua. The proclamation is a manifesto for change. In government, north and south, my commitment to you tonight is that Sinn Féin will deliver this change. We are committed to a vision of a new Ireland that will embrace everyone, a society in which the rights of all citizens will be guaranteed, a society in which every child will have equal opportunities. In a modern Ireland, awash with stress, mental health issues, and suicide, we are committed to shaping a society where, as Pearse put it, the end of freedom is human happiness. It is an absolute disgrace that in this centenary year, the relatives of the 1916 leaders were forced to take the government to the High Court to save the National Monument at Moore Street. Moore Street, the last stand of the GPO garrison, the last meeting place of Pearse and Connolly, of Tom Clark, of Sean McDermott, of Joseph Plunkett. The Fine Gael and Labour Party and government wanted to demolish it. They backed the property developer. They wanted to demolish the National Monument. The families stood up to them and upheld our national heritage, and some of them are here with us tonight. So Coram Falsha. Coram Falsha Riv na Charlie Alig. Following the Rising and the revolutionary period, there was a counter-revolution. It created two mean-spirited, narrow-minded states on this island. A claustrophobic, confessional atmosphere enforced censorship of Ireland's greatest literary minds and encouraged waves of emigration. Economic stagnation combined with the overbearing influence of a conservative Catholic hierarchy. Women in particular, the poor, and radicals of all kind were treated shamefully. Many of the political, economic, and social scandals of recent years are a product of this post-colonial condition. Pearse's Misha Era captures all of this. Misha Era, Sinna me na an Cailleach Vera, Mór Maglor, me de rug Cohollan Croga, Mór Manaira, Maclan Féin a Yale a Wahar. This was the stark reality of a free state that unfolded in place of a genuine republic. It was far from the promise of the proclamation. Of course, major social progress has been made since then. And last year's wonderful marriage equality referendum result is a proof of that. But much more needs to be done. A genuine republic would not tolerate the housing and homelessness crisis or the disgraceful scandals in our health services. A genuine republic would not tolerate the huge levels of disadvantage and inequality. It would not let the interests of its own citizens be trumped by those of the EU imperialists. A genuine republic would not abide partition or allow neutrality to be violated by those who would use our airports to prosecute foreign wars. A genuine republic would actively promote peace and play a leadership role in global affairs. It would tackle the humanitarian and refugee crisis facing those fleeing conflict in coffin ships from North Africa and the Middle East. And the genuine republic would not take money from the pockets of our own people to be pumped into rotten banks and gangsters. Sinn Féin is proud of Ireland's long and distinguished struggle for freedom. We are not Fine Gael or Labour. We are proud of the men and women of 1916. But we're not Fianna Fáil either. We're equally proud of the men and women of the H blocks and Armagh. We are proud of the 1981 hunger strikers and of the patriot dead from our time, and we remember them all here tonight. Agus Karam, Falsha, Cruel, Riv, Nadhana, Agus Nachali, Alig. After the recent general election, Sinn Féin said that in the interest of delivering change, we were willing to talk to Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil. They refused to talk to us. And the nasty little sound bites, which would make the DUP blush, the Fianna Fáil leader in particular proclaimed that this party, that you, the people in this convention hall, and more importantly, the people throughout this island who vote Sinn Féin, that you and they and we are not fit for government. He also said that he would not put Enda Kenny back into government. But putting Fine Gael back into power is exactly what he is negotiating at this time. Let's be clear, that's not in the national interest. Fianna Fáil voters did not vote to give Fine Gael another term. And Micheál Martin knows full well that Enda Kenny will not resolve the homelessness crisis, the health crisis, or the crisis in living which many families are enduring. He knows the Fine Gael leadership has little interest in Irish unity, but he would prefer to put them back as part of his efforts to counter the growth of Sinn Féin. So I have a message. I have a message for Chuck de Martin. You promised in your manifesto to abolish Irish water and to scrap water charges. So, Micheál, water charges must go and Irish water must go. There were other citizens who thought they were voting for an alternative when they voted independent. Some of these TDs now stand with Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. How independent is that? And they stakioj the Nadini Avinyav's block ag tebu lesh and chorus. And all the while, the inequalities in our society are deepening. And all the while, those in the property and banking systems and the political elites who broke the economy are getting richer. For our part, Sinn Féin is committed to a public health service. Sinn Féin believes that everyone has a right to a home. We have detailed proposals on this, including a massive social housing new build programme, security and certainty for tenants, support for homeowners and buyers. Sinn Féin is also opposed to the abandonment of citizens in the West and the neglect of rural Ireland. We have a plan for rural regeneration, including Gaeltacht areas, for an end to the closure of post offices, rural schools and Garda stations. People in rural Ireland have rights, and Sinn Féin is about fulfilling and upholding those rights. Before the volunteers left the GPO, Pearse told the women that when the history of that week would be written, the highest honour and credit would go to them. So we salute our sisters. Shasimwij Lenar Garda Ban. Let's be clear, there can be no Saoirse na Huron, gan Saoirse na Mon. So a genuine republic would repeal the 8th Amendment of the Constitution. And Sinn Féin will campaign for this. These are our commitments at the start of the 32nd Dáil, however long that lasts. A strong, progressive Sinn Féin team, working in cooperation with others, standing up for citizens and against the elite. Shin and Geltanis a hug midged and a dini a hug voti doing. And let me be clear, unlike the establishment parties, this party, the Sinn Féin party, will stick to our promises and to our commitments. Despite a tsunami of negative campaigning by some of our opponents and from sections of the media, Sinn Féin achieved a historic result in the general election. We now have 23 TDs, and I want to thank all our candidates, their families, and our voters. We also have an excellent team of candidates going forward for Monday's Seanad election. And on May the 5th, on the anniversary of the death of Bobby Sands, there will be an election in the north. I want to applaud our Assembly candidates and their families also. Remember last September, Enda Kenny and Micheál Martin called for the suspension or the adjournment of the political institutions of the Good Friday Agreement. But Sinn Féin and others refused to accept this. We successfully negotiated the Fresh Start Agreement. And I want to commend the huge commitment and leadership of my friend and comrade Martin McGuinness in building the peace. Sinn Féin have stood against the British Tory austerity policies. We have stopped the introduction of water charges. We have guaranteed free hospital care. We have guaranteed free GP care. We have guaranteed free prescriptions. However, this is not enough. Marriage equality is still banned in the north, and we are committed to changing that. We're also committed to Act na Gaeilge and to Irish language rights, including the right to Irish medium education. There is no other party will stand up for these rights in the face of unionist bluster, British government opposition, and the Irish government's indifference. Ní béon partiala ag seasamh an fud den na cearta agus na tídal na Saoirseach a lig. No other party will stand up for public services and for fairness. for all of the agreements that need to be implemented, and the Good Friday and subsequent agreements do need to be fully implemented. Sectarianism does need to be tackled and overcome, and the British government has to be made to honour their commitments on legacy issues, including the legacy inquests and the resourcing of investigations. And that is why, all of these reasons are why we need the biggest number of Sinn Féin MLAs to lead change in the Assembly and to join the rest of us in delivering change across Ireland. In June, there will be a referendum about so-called Brexit. And while Sinn Féin believes in a different European Union, a social EU based on citizens' rights and equality, we will be campaigning for a strong vote against Brexit. The imposition of border controls and economic barriers are not in the interests of the people of this island. Our clear goal is to break them down. Our clear goal is to end partition. And the purpose of partition was to prevent the emergence of a united 32-county Irish state. And to this day, partition prevents the development of communities and is holding back, as Connolly put it, the wheels of progress. Yet much has changed. The Orange State, established by the Government of Ireland Act, it's gone. The Government of Ireland Act, it's gone also. Yes, the Northern State is still in place. And yes, the majority of people there are unionists, but the union is no longer unconditionally upheld in British law. The British government is now obliged to legislate for Irish unity when a majority wants it. And the duty of the Irish government should be to achieve this. That means promoting all-Ireland cooperation and building relationships between our people. That means an end of partitionist thinking by policymakers here, and yes, in the media also. It means enlisting international support. It means enlisting international support for all of these objectives. Now, of course, from a Republican perspective, from a democratic perspective, the British government has no right to be in any part of Ireland. But from a unionist perspective, all has changed utterly from the days of a one-party state where nationalists were excluded from power, denied equality in housing, employment and voting rights, and where expressions of Irish national identity were criminalised. Now there's a peaceful and democratic route to Irish unity. So ta go leor obair le dheanú againn go fáil. A united Ireland means the unity of the people of this island, including those who identify themselves as British. A united Ireland means economic and political benefits for all our people. It means an end to duplication and waste. But it must be inclusive, it must be agreed, and it must be welcoming to all sections of our people. And that includes our unionist neighbours. This is their homeland also. Ireland today again needs the vision, the spirit, the generosity of those who struck for freedom 100 years ago. Had Pearse and Connolly and their comrades gone on to form a working government, Ireland today would be a better place, would be a fairer and more equal society. So that's the challenge facing us. A famous son of this city, Luke Kelly, put it well. To whom, he asked, do we owe our allegiance today? To whom do we owe our allegiance today? To those brave men and women who fought and died that Roisin live again with pride, or the faceless men who for mark and dollar betray her to the highest bidder. To whom do we owe our allegiance today? Sinn Féin owes our allegiance to the people of this island. We owe our allegiance to those north, south, east and west, the men and women of Ireland. We love Ireland. We value this small island but it's the people, orange and green and all the other colours also, who are at the core of our values of equality, liberty and fraternity. We want this to be the best place to grow up in, to grow old in, and to enjoy life in. So our resolve must be to end all the divisions and to unite our people. To Sinn Féin go hands to Lar Fheis Shaw. 1916 was right. Bhíonn ceart ar fad ag na manrá agus na fear a has ar fud san éirí amach. It was republic versus empire. It was republicanism versus imperialism. And tomorrow at 10 a.m. on the date of the rising, we will be at the GPO. So big e lin and shin. Later at 2 p.m. at Citizens Initiative, Reclaim the Vision of 1916, will march from Merriam Square. All of this, my friends, is about pointing to the future. In our own time, 35 years ago, Bobby Sands was 55 days on hunger strike. Like the men and women of 1916, he and his comrades were also about the future. In his prison diary, Bobby wrote, "If they aren't able to destroy the desire for freedom, they won't break you. They won't break me, because the desire for freedom and the freedom of the Irish people is in my heart. The day will dawn when all the people of Ireland will have the desire for freedom to show." Bobby then went on, "It's then we will see the rising of the moon." The people of Ireland are no mean people. We have great resilience, great potential. We know whose side we're on. We stand by and for the Republic. It's time, my friends, comrades, brothers and sisters, that we saw the rising of the moon. Join the new rising. Beigi Lynn and Fublocht Abu. Be with us up the Republic, onwards and upwards. Mila Mila, we have Steve Shigaljar.